Picture two cars at the same stoplight. One is newer, financed, turbocharged, and packed with screens. The other has a simple key, faded paint, and 150,000 miles. 5 years from now, which one is still starting every morning without demanding a $4,000 repair? And today, we're counting down 5 overbuilt used cars hiding in plain sight, cheap enough for buyers who cannot afford a mistake, but scarce enough that waiting may cost you the good ones. Number 5. 2005 to 2011 Mitsubishi Endeavor 3.8 FWD. The Endeavor looks like an anonymous crossover from a company most shoppers stopped noticing years ago. Underneath, however, Mitsubishi gave it a large, naturally aspirated 3.8-liter V6, a conventional 4-speed automatic, and none of the small turbo engine drama found in many newer SUVs. It is not advanced. That is exactly the attraction. FWD is the version to pursue because it removes the transfer case, drive shaft, and rear differential. Asking prices generally run from roughly $4,500 to $8,000, with mileage and rust making an enormous difference. It makes sense for someone who genuinely needs SUV room but cannot pay modern SUV prices. Now the trap. The Endeavor uses a timing belt. If the seller cannot produce an invoice for the belt, tensioners, and preferably the water pump, assume the job is due and negotiate accordingly. Test every climate control setting, look underneath for coolant and oil leaks, and make the transmission shift from cold without flaring or slamming. In salt states, inspect the underbody and fuel filler area carefully. Corrosion was serious enough to generate a recall campaign on affected vehicles. And budget for fuel. Around 15 city and 21 highway means this is not the clever choice for a 60-mile daily commute. It is overbuilt mechanically, but thirst can still kill a tight household budget. Buy it for its space and durability, not because the purchase price tricks you into believing it is a cheap compact. Number 4. 2006 to 2009 Mercury Milan. The Milan is what happens when a Ford Fusion puts on a nicer jacket and then gets forgotten by the entire market. The 2.3-liter 4-cylinder traces its roots to Mazda's MZR family. It uses port injection, a timing chain, and either a manual or conventional 5-speed automatic. No turbo, no CVT, and no luxury car powertrain hiding behind a $4,000 price. Good examples usually appear between $4,000 and $6,500. Expect roughly 20 city and 28 highway, a comfortable driving position, and mechanical parts shared with far more common Ford and Mazda products. That shared hardware is a major reason this discontinued Mercury still makes sense for a buyer with limited money. But do not confuse shared parts with permission to buy a rusted-out car. Inspect the rocker panels, rear wheel arches, brake lines, and subframes on a lift. During the test drive, feel for delayed engagement, harsh shifts, or an engine that revs between gears. Excessive vibration at idle often points toward tired engine mounts. Not necessarily a dying engine, but it is still money the seller should not hand to you as a surprise. There is also a non-negotiable safety check. Milan models from this era were included in major Takata airbag actions, and NHTSA issued a do not drive warning for affected Ford and Mercury vehicles whose recalled inflators remained unrepaired. Run the VIN before the test drive and demand proof of completion. A durable engine does not compensate for an explosive airbag. Number 3. 2008 to 2011 Ford Focus 2.0. This Focus lives in the shadow of one of Ford's worst transmission stories, and that is why the market overlooks the correct generation. The disastrous PowerShift dual-clutch automatic arrived for 2012. The cars here came before it, using the durable 2-liter Duratec engine and a simple 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual. That distinction is the entire opportunity. Shoppers hear Old Focus, remember the newer transmission scandal, and keep scrolling. Meanwhile, the earlier car delivers roughly 24 city and 33 highway, widely available parts, and asking prices of about $3,500 to $6,500. It is not glamorous, but glamour does not get a low-income worker to work every morning. The inspection should begin with a cold engine. Listen for rattles, check for oil or coolant residue, turn on the air conditioning, and feel how much the cabin shakes in drive. Failed mounts can make a healthy engine feel terrible. The automatic should engage promptly and shift cleanly. Then inspect the rockers, suspension mounting areas, and structural members for rust. Also, look beyond mileage. A 180,000-mile Focus with maintenance records, clean fluid, and highway history may be safer than a 120,000-mile example that survived 6 owners and 4 years of neglected oil changes. These cars refuse to die only when somebody gave them the basics. If this kind of honest buying advice can save you from one bad car, subscribe and tell me which forgotten model is still running in your driveway. Your experience may help another buyer in the comments. Number 2. 2008 to 2014 Scion XD 1.8. Here is where buy before everyone finds out becomes very literal. Scion disappeared, but the engineering behind the badge did not. The XD uses Toyota's 1.8-liter engine, a conventional 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual, and a timing chain. In other words, it offers much of the mechanical logic people pay extra to get in a Toyota without saying Corolla on the trunk. Current asking prices generally sit between $6,000 and $10,000. That is more than a Focus, but you can reach as new as 2014, and fuel economy lands around 27 city and 33 highway. For a city commuter, retiree, student, or small household, it is arguably the most rational car here. Rational does not mean perfect. Avoid lowered cars, oversized wheels, homemade wiring, and anything wearing the evidence of a teenager's unfinished project. Look around the water pump for dried pink coolant. Listen for wheel bearing noise that rises with speed. Inspect the oil level before the seller starts the engine, and make sure the automatic fluid does not smell burned. Certain early cars also had seat track and other safety campaigns, so the VIN check still matters. The XD is small, noisy on the highway, and not especially refined. That is the trade. You are buying Toyota simplicity packaged in a model the general public barely remembers. Once shoppers searching under $10,000 connect those dots, the clean, unmodified cars will not become more plentiful. Number 1. 2009 to 2010 Pontiac Vibe Base 1.8 FWD. The number 1 car wears the wrong badge, and that may be its greatest feature. The second-generation Pontiac Vibe was designed and engineered with Toyota and closely related to the Toyota Matrix. In base 1.8 FWD form, it combines Toyota's 1.8-liter engine with a conventional 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual, while the market still sees a discontinued Pontiac. That is the definition of hiding in plain sight. You get useful hatchback cargo room, roughly 26 city and 31 highway, timing chain simplicity, and broad access to many mechanical service parts. Asking prices commonly range from the mid-$5,000s to around $9,000, and unusually clean, low-mile cars can already exceed that. The specification matters. Buy the base 1.8 FWD, not merely any Vibe, wearing a clean coat of wax. The larger 2.4-liter engine carries a less attractive history of oil consumption, while AWD adds age and complexity that this buyer does not need. Start it cold and watch the exhaust. Check the oil level, search around the water pump for coolant residue, listen for wheel bearing noise, test the hatch and every electrical accessory, and inspect underneath for rust or collision repairs. Because Pontiac is gone, mechanical parts are generally the easy part. Vibe-specific body panels, trim, and interior pieces can be the frustrating part. A cheap crash repair may therefore matter more than a scratched bumper. The 2009 and 2010 Vibe also participated in accelerator pedal and floor mat recall actions related to its Toyota engineering. Check the exact VIN and verify that every open recall has been completed. Never accept these cars run forever as a substitute for documentation. And that brings us back to the title. These 5 cars were overbuilt where an owner with limited income needs strength most. Straightforward engines, conventional transmissions, and repair networks that do not begin at a luxury dealership. but they are not new and they are not maintenance-free. The wrong example can still empty your wallet. The opportunity is not that prices will double next Tuesday. It is that every year, another clean example gets wrecked, rusted, modified, or driven into the ground. Meanwhile, more buyers are discovering that a newer badge does not guarantee a longer life. Buy patiently, inspect independently, reserve money for the first service, and walk away from sellers who refuse a cold start or a pre-purchase inspection. Because when everyone finally starts hunting the simple survivors, the cheapest cars will still be advertised. The good ones will be gone.